Well, fantasy owners got a little bit of a shock this week as we discovered that Jamar Chase, star wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, will be out with a hip injury. And not just an easy hip injury to come back from. This is going to be a hip fracture, a hairline hip fracture, and torn labrum. That's coming from Jordan Schultz. This came as a shock. This really did. I know that he got a little bit banged up in that last game, but a lot of people weren't really talking about it till about midweek. And when the news dropped that he was going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, I tell you, myself personally, I had a pending trade offer for Jamar Chase that I'm so glad got declined that morning before the news dropped. And I know you were telling me pre-show here too that even you had the same kind of deal going on. So
Yep.
it tells you how blindsided people were when this happened. And I think now we can already count on Jamar Chase missing the next 4 weeks minimum. Most doctors say that it's at least a 4-week injury. So you could count on him not being there. Hopefully you can stick around till the fantasy playoffs and be able to utilize him. But it really sucks because this Bengals offense was really starting to find its identity. They were really starting to play with a little bit of a swagger. And Joe Burrow put up 400 plus yards in his last game against the Atlanta Falcons. So that tells you kind of what this offense was starting to do. They're running on shotgun sets recently, a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. So there's going to be opportunities in this offense. They're going to be more of a pass first offense running out of the gun. Who do you think is going to be the first person that's going to benefit from Jamar Chase's injury?
It's Tyler Boyd. I mean, the guy is a great wide receiver who's stuck behind 2 even greater wide receivers. Tyler Boyd is going to get some run here. He's going to have some really potentially good days. I like him a lot right now. If you are in need of a wide receiver, even just as a rental, trying to get you sneaking into the playoffs, he might be a really good guy to go after.
I mean, he put up over 150 yards in this last game against the Falcons. So he was clearly the better wide receiver on the day. But versus Higgins, you don't see any conflicts there? Or do you think that this Bengals offense is good enough to support 2 wide receivers?
Of course, this Bengals offense is good enough to support 2 wide receivers. It has been for a while. In fact, it's been supporting 3 pretty
Fair.
well.
Fair.
So I'm not worried about that. I mean, T. Higgins is still going to get his, and maybe even more now as the alpha for a little while.
Okay.
And Boyd's going to look good.
So do you consider Boyd eligible to be a low-end wide receiver 1, or do you think he's firmly in the wide receiver 2 category with Chase out?
I would put him quite up as high as wide receiver 1 territory, but I think wide receiver 2, it makes sense. I mean, they got an offense that moves the ball really fast, really well, and he can put up some numbers, that's for sure.
In Tyler Boyd's heyday before Jamar Chase became a thing, I understand what you're talking about because he was one of those great underrated fantasy options. And if I'm able to pull up like his stat lines in those years, he had multiple seasons of over 100 fantasy points. So it wasn't a fluke. He had over 1,000 yards for 2 straight years in there and 3 straight years of over 100 targets. So he was very involved before Jamar Chase just happened to burst on the scene like a ball of fire that he was and just steal all his targets. Basically, Jamar Chase stole Tyler Boyd's lunch and he's finally getting it back. So I'm happy that Tyler Boyd is out there and he has an opportunity to succeed. Let's talk about the deeper league options because I know that some people are asking themselves, is there a third wide receiver that's going to benefit from here? Mike Thomas. So a Mike Thomas that actually can play football is going to be lining up for the Cincinnati Bengals as kind of their third wide receiver. You may see some Trent Taylor. Do you like any of these guys in a deeper league? Or is these guys that you would consider starting if you're in a 14, 16 team league?
I wouldn't be starting him. You could potentially grab one as maybe some kind of sneaky option, but I wouldn't try throwing him in your starting lineup right now.
Do you think this is an opportunity for a Joe Mixon to get further receiving work? Do you think this is a place where you might see him cemented top 4 running back?
I think it's possible. I don't know that it'll move the needle that much, but it could give him a slight uptick in usage.
Okay, what about for Joe Burrow himself? Because he was starting to climb up the quarterback rankings. You lose Jamar. I don't care who you are, right? We're seeing Brady struggle losing some offensive linemen. We've seen Rodgers struggle with Devontae Adams not there. For a young quarterback like Joe Burrow, what do you think? Does this move him down significantly?
A little bit. I mean, you can't lose a guy like Jamar Chase and not feel it a little bit. But
Him or like
He's
a Kirk Cousins?
I'd go with Joe Burrow.
Dak, as Dak continues to get healthier.
Give me Burrow.
Okay, so you're still high on Burrow regardless of losing
Yeah.
Jamar. I personally do think that he's going to take a hit, but I think that will slide him back into that 8 to 12 range, which if that's the case, I mean, you're not going to have a lot of better options on a week to week basis to start anyway over Joe Burrow. But it is worth noting that you might just have to shift your expectations because when Jamar came his rookie year, it was pretty obvious how good this Bengals offense became with him in it. And Joe Burrow was good his rookie year, but Chase really changed the game for him in terms of what his expectations and ability were from a fantasy football standpoint. His rookie year, if we were looking at Joe Burrow rookie year prior to Jamar Chase being drafted, what, a 10 to 15, quarterback 10 to 15, somewhere in that range. But
Yeah.
when Chase got in there, then that's why people were drafting Joe Burrow as quarterback 6 this year, quarterback 7 this year. People were feeling very confident in the ability because of what we saw with the Bengals offense in the Super Bowl run. So I do think that it's going to be a downgrade for Joe. Obviously, upgrades for Tyler Boyd. Higgins, if he's healthy, upgrade for him. I don't think the tight ends, it really shifts the needle much. And we said that Mixon is probably about a neutral. That's kind of like stock up, stock down as far as the Bengals offense is concerned. But anyway, guys, hopefully that you weren't affected by this injury. Hopefully you didn't hit that accept button on that trade before the injury took place. You're hurting from it. It's clear. Everyone's hurting that got Jamar Chase on their roster. Wish him a speedy recovery. But guys, if you have any lineup questions, any waiver questions, trade questions, whatsoever, anything fantasy football related, we'd like to hear them. Drop them below in the comment section. Leave a like on our video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social medias, Andrew Hohman, Ju-Ju, links in the bio. Stay safe, happy, healthy. We will see you next time.